Hey, you're...
They're back from who knows where, drinking beer and betting sports. It's the Better or Worse podcast with Mitch, Randy, and Jersey Joe.
All right, so we got 2/3 of it. Connor's in for Jersey Joe. Rickshaw's back. Hasn't seen him in a while.
Oh, yeah.
And we were just having awesome conversations about this incredible week one, man. So, Rickshaw, why don't you pick up with what you were just talking about?
I was just saying it's been a brutal couple of nights, man. First of all, Utah, I've got the over 26 points in the game. They get stuffed at the goal line. Instead of kicking an extra point earlier in the game, they go for two, and then they come down to the last play of the game. All they got to do is kick the field goal and set to overtime, and the moron quarterback throws an interception. How does that happen? That's like 15 points. I only needed one. You know, that drives me crazy. Oh, and then last night, Florida State and in that game, oh my God, again, it comes down to the last same scenario, last play of the game. All I need from to do is to kick the damn extra point and send it to overtime, and boom.
Let me ask you this. So this weekend to me was unbelievable in terms of craziness in games. I was watching it obviously from a sports hitter bracket, and the North Carolina App State game was in a lot of brackets, and it was going back and forth. That had crazy innings. Last night's game flipped so many brackets with FSU, LSU. I got to believe we're in for an incredible season. If we go by what has already happened, overall, what are your thoughts? I mean, because I was happy. I was actually happy just with the overall craziness of week one.
Well, I think parity in college football is back, man. I mean, I don't know if we're going to see that tonight in the Clemson game as well, but some of these other games, I mean, some of these national powers, LSU, I was watching Penn State, UCLA. I mean, you go right down the list, and they all look very mortal, very mortal.
UCLA was losing the Bowling Green at halftime, weren't they?
Yeah. That game was in question the whole way.
At home.
Yeah.
Won by their quarterback, right? Dorian Robinson kind of did it by him. Kind of was the whole team, wasn't he?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
So overall, for people that don't know, for some reason, if you don't know by now, Randy is a Michigan alum. He wears it proud. Hey, listen, at the end of the day, they did what they were supposed to do, right? They went out. I didn't watch the game. I'm assuming you did with a bunch of people, Randy. What was your take on Michigan?
Well, it's really hard to get a take on them when they play a game like that. Now, Colorado State's a rebuilding team. They got a brand new coach in Jay Norvell. They did have a lot of transfers that came over from Nevada, which is where Norvell came from, which kind of helped them on offense. But on defense, it was hard to judge really how much talent really was on that defensive side of the ball. And Michigan played 90 players. So, I mean, it's really hard to get. I mean, I think the guy who played the most snaps only played 45 snaps in the game. So it's really kind of hard to tell where they are. I think they look deep. But again, were they just deep because it's Colorado State, or are they really that deep? The biggest thing coming out of Michigan is that J.J. McCarthy looks so much better than Cade McNamara when he went in the game. He just brings a whole different dimension to that offense. And, here you go. You got Cade, who's been a 2-year starter, led them to the Big Ten championship and the college football playoff last year. And it's the whole Tom Brady, Drew Henson thing all over again, right? I mean, the second string quarterback's always the most popular guy on the team, right? And that's where we're at in Michigan. So this week, McCarthy gets a start against Hawaii.
How did Corum do? Is that his name, Corum, the running back?
Yeah, Blake's a stud, man.
How did they fill? Was it a defensive end last year that went in the top 10?
Yeah,
outside linebacker, right?
Aiden Hudson went as the number
Yeah.
1 pick or number 2 pick overall to
Yep.
Detroit, and then David Ajabo was on the other side, and he went. I think he went like 19th.
Okay.
So yeah, did they replace those guys? I'll tell you, they look very deep at defensive end, and they got a 5-star transfer from Alabama at the last minute this year. So I mean, they look good at defensive end. But again, it's Colorado State. So what do you? I don't know. I guess the answer is I don't know.
All right. Well, we're going to get into the overall Big Ten here in a little bit, but let's flip it up to Connor. Connor, Mr. FSU, got my guy Norvell up there. Now, I kept saying over and over and over, they're going to be better because Norvell is an undervalued coach. He's going to do a really good job with that team.
He had a couple questionable calls last night. Thinking a couple times he put his team in a bad position, but I mean, we got the win. We got the win.
They won because
pitching the ball on the 1 yard line.
I'll be honest, they won because they got to go against Brian Kelly. Brian Kelly probably had about 50 more questionable calls in that game than anything.
Oh yeah.
And to be honest with you, the fact that the kick was blocked at the end probably is going to take all the controversy away from everything else wrong he did in the final 3 minutes of that game. There was a time Florida State got the ball midfield and was trying to run the clock out with like 2 minutes to go. He actually didn't call a timeout when he had 3 timeouts. He let them run the clock down to like a minute, and before they punted that ball. Before they punted the ball, he only took 2 timeouts, not 3, which was odd. He let them run 45 seconds off the clock, and he got bailed out because of the fumble. But I thought one thing that came across in that game, in the NFL, there's that new rule where you have to have at least 2 seconds on the clock to spike the ball.
I seen that. I don't know why they got a flag.
When LSU was driving, and there was 15 seconds on the clock, and they got it down to like the 25-yard line and spiked the ball, they only took 1 second off the clock. If you go by the NFL's policy, you can't only take 1 second off the clock. And I thought that ended up becoming a huge play because it was the next play that the tight end caught the ball and ran down to like the 3-yard line or whatever, and they put 1 second on the clock. Then when they put 1 second on the clock, the referee's explanation didn't match anybody's explanation that was on TV. If you were watching the game and listening, they're like, oh, well, they have to do this and they have to do this. And then they said they get 1 untimed down, which was nothing even close to what was said by any of the commentators or the rules officials on TV. So you had to wonder, well, why did they didn't start the clock on the whistle? They said it's going to basically be they were guaranteeing them an untimed down is what they were guaranteeing them on that last play of the game.
I think it came down to, Tom, as they called it what do they call that? A dead whistle or a
inadvertent
whistle type of thing. Whereas once they make that call, they can't go back. So
yeah,
and so once they called him down and out of bounds, you really can't go back from that because, theoretically the clock would have run out there. But right. So I guess you could look at it from both sides. They got a break there. Here's the thing that lost the game though for LSU, and it's special teams. 2 fumbled punts. A block field goal, a block extra point, and a big return. I mean, I just can't. I look at the special teams play, and if I was Brian Kelly, that guy would be on the street today.
Yeah. I think. Well, the other thing that stood out is that receiver doesn't want to be there. The receiver, the All-American receiver,
he pouted the whole game. Yeah, he did. He pouted.
He had a touchdown. The ball hit him in the chest. He wasn't even looking.
Right.
Who runs on the goal line from the 10 in, doesn't turn their head to get the ball? That was Jaden Daniels, maybe his best pass of the game.
Yeah, right. It hit him right. You're right. Hit him right on the side of the hip.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out why is this guy this angry. Whatever is going on there is a problem because he was disinterested. It looked like he was disinterested in everything, which I thought was odd considering he's getting a new coach. I don't know what the problems are there. But overall, Connor, you're out. Were you watching that game were you in Gainesville? Where are you?
I was still in Gainesville, watching the game.
So Connor, just so you know, Rick Shaw, is from Gainesville, goes to FSU, went back to Gainesville because his family still lives there, does not like the Florida Gators. So it's a nightmare situation for him in that not only does he have to watch the Gators win, he then has to watch his team, FSU, in Gator country, and they go out and have the time of their – they go out and get to pull off a big victory, right?
I watched in my friend's house. I didn't want to hear anybody.
Life is tough.
A lot of my friends went to one house. I went to another.
Yeah. Life is tough, Connor. Hey, so at least they weren't burning couches there. I mean, like when you get up into the north, they burn couches. So.
Oh man, listen, I'm watching all this going on from Atlanta. So I'm here in Atlanta for opening weekend, and it's two completely. It seems like two different weekends. So when Georgia was in town, there was decent tailgating going on. You know, Herschel Walker had his whole bus here. Richard Seymour was in the bus behind us. Everybody was in town having a good time. Probably 50 to 100 RVs in the lot having a good time. They all 2-day passes. They all leave. In today, probably maybe 10 for Clemson. It's just not the same. And I don't know if it's because of the teams. I don't know what it is. I thought Clemson would bring a lot more fans to the game. Maybe it's because they're going to win by a lot. I don't know. But it's just a different vibe. But overall, pretty good experience. They got the Hall of Fame here. They got the Chick-fil-A Hall of Fame. And I'm looking forward to the game. I know it's not going to go too well for one side, but I'm looking forward to it.
So you're counting Georgia Tech out already?
Listen, I'm going to, they won't win the game. But the betting side says you 100% you take the 24 points because of who Ukulele is. I mean, we'll get into that. I definitely want to get into that when we come back. We're going to take a quick commercial.
I'm glad you said his last name. I just keep calling him DJ or Ukulele, you know.
We're going to come back. We're going to take a quick commercial for Sport Hitters. Real quick before we do, congratulations, Connor. Impressive win. Came back strong.
Week 1.
You took Joe out. You took me out. The App State game was a crusher for me. But congratulations on that win. You're on the board and moving forward. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Here's a quick commercial.
So what's it like playing Sport Hitters? Whether you're at your favorite bar or just anywhere. Sport Hitters' unique challenge brackets offers players a new way to play. Sport Hitters allows you to pick your teams and challenge friends, family, and rival players, all for real money. And best of all, now it's every sport, every day. You can get the app exclusively at sporthitters.com. Sport Hitters, challenge on.
All right, so Big Ten. I want to talk about it because I said going into this weekend there was a sleeper, and that sleeper definitely showed up. The sleeper's Minnesota, I think, in the Big Ten because of their running back. I think they were one of the best running backs. Randy, with what you saw out of Ohio State and Michigan, do you think that Minnesota can be a challenge for those teams?
No, I don't. I think Minnesota is a good team. I don't think they're an elite team. And I got to tell you something. After watching Ohio State this week, Michigan fans are even more encouraged, right? I didn't think Ohio State looked, that invincible. Yeah, and I got to tell you, Notre Dame didn't look that impressive either. I mean, when you compare, the Ohio State defense, so the one we saw last year in the last game of the season against Michigan, that team that Notre Dame put out there should have been running up and down the field on those guys, and they didn't. I thought the game was going to be a shootout, and it didn't turn out to be that way.
Well, I think the other part of it is Notre Dame, I believe, was missing their two top receivers. I could be wrong, but I thought they were missing their two top wide receivers going into the game. That game very easily could have been put away by Notre Dame, to be honest with you. I thought they should have put the game away.
I agree.
I think they kind of allowed Justin Fields to stay around, or not Justin Fields, the quarterback for Ohio State. They allowed him to stay around, and then his talent took over and helped them win the game. But I'm with you. I actually think that those three teams are a lot closer than people thought. First of all, after watching this weekend, Alabama, to me, there are levels to this, and Alabama and Georgia are forget about it, guys. They're on a different level. That's this year's teams. Those two teams are on a different level. I was walking around Atlanta in this tailgate, listening to people say our defense is going to be better, better, better. I'm like, you got to be crazy. You lost 5 guys to the NFL, and let me tell you something. They restocked them. He has that team like Alabama. They can restock and restock and restock. I don't care how bad the Pac-12 is or Oregon is. They held them without a touchdown. They held a
Power 5
I don't
school.
know.
Big Power 5 school.
I watched Iowa. I thought that was the team that we needed to figure out. And that quarterback is horrendous.
I don't know who's worse, the quarterback or their coach, right? I mean,
I think
talk about conservative or over conservative, or if he was a poker player, they would call him dead money tight. You know, I mean,
7-3. Was it 7-3? And it was 2 safeties. They had 2 safeties in the game.
A field goal and 2 safeties.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Can you imagine?
No. I couldn't imagine being in the stands for that. I would have been angry.
Yeah.
That would be a very bad 3 hours. So looking at that, I like Michigan. I'm sorry, Minnesota's team. This Ibrahim kid is going to be a stud. People are going to hear about him. The one that was kind of a little bit we had to take a look at was Illinois. Was that a fluke? Are they for real? Are they not for real?
They're not for real.
They're not for real.
No.
Right? They're not there. So now Wisconsin, are they going to be there? I don't think so. I think Minnesota replaces Wisconsin as that 3rd team in the Big Ten to watch out for this year. I think they fill that role. But like you said, I didn't.
What about Nebraska, Tom? What do you think about Nebraska? Now, we didn't get a chance to talk after Nebraska's first game, but what do you think of that onside kick that Frost executed when he just went up 11 points late in the 3rd quarter?
Bit him right in the butt.
Yeah, so I was I don't know if you're aware of this, but I was in Lincoln for a few months and spent some time in the sports bars there, talked with a lot of fans. And one of the fans that I talked to that night just so happened I was alumni, and he knew last year's offensive coordinator very well, and he was telling me stories. The interesting thing about Nebraska is Scott Frost has horrible communication skills. And this is what I was telling Joe. Joe was sold that they were going to easily, they had all these transfers. They were going to easily win the first half of that game against Northwestern. And I'm like, listen, Scott Frost, when all of last season, he never talked with his offensive coordinator. They never had any communication. They went through third-party intermediaries because they couldn't stand each other. So if you're hearing that, then when it comes to the off season, Alberts was going to fire him. He walked into the office thinking he was getting fired. He put all the blame on the offensive coordinator. They fired the offensive coordinator. Going into this, supposedly it's going on again. There's problems all through that building because of Scott Frost, either insecurities or whatever. So not a chance. If they were smart, and it's going to happen very soon, Scott Frost will not make it through probably the 2nd or 3rd game in the Big Ten. Once he gets past these 2 cupcakes that he's playing, he's going to be replaced. And it wouldn't surprise me. There is a crazy name floating around out there. Oh, and it's your boy Connor. Is
that Urban Meyer we're talking about?
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if Urban Meyer goes to Nebraska.
Oh, that would be interesting.
Yeah, he's got a history of turning around. Listen, when he went to Ohio State, don't forget they lost every game the year before he got there. They were suspended. Remember that?
Yeah.
Ohio State was in a lot of trouble from the Tressel time, and they lost like every game. He turned them around quickly. He's got a history in the Big Ten. He does really good in that area. It wouldn't surprise me at all if he's the guy that they go to, because that team's in dire need. They struggle. They're not a good team. So as far as the Big Ten goes, to me, it's the big 2 again. It's Michigan and Ohio State. And then the sleeper, I think, is Minnesota. But I didn't watch Michigan. I didn't see the Michigan game too much.
Yeah.
So I didn't get a lot to see.
Yeah, it was. They did what they were supposed to do. I tell you, when I'm looking at the Big Ten, I always wonder about Wisconsin, because Wisconsin's the perennial, power on the other side of the conference, and they look like they've got a good defense again, and their offense is. The question is, is their power running game going to, be able to, to win games for them? So, yeah, I think you're right. I think it does come down to Wisconsin and Minnesota. Probably the winner of that game will probably represent the other side against the winner of the Michigan State, Penn State, whoever comes out of it for.
After watching Penn State, I mean, I don't know. Are they really? Are they really a concern? An over concern?
Yeah, we play them in Ann Arbor this year. We beat them last year at State College. James Franklin, it seems like he's a lot like Brian Kelly. Every game you can count on him doing something goofy, right? Something some failed trick play that turns the tide of the game. I don't fear them, but I do fear Michigan State. I mean, and I think Mel Tucker's doing a great job there. They don't have as much talent as the other two teams, but they play with emotion. They play with a chip on their shoulder, and their game plan, man, is to heave it deep. You get a couple of pass interference calls at the right time, stuff can happen with them. So they're a team to fear a little bit because they can make things difficult for you, right? And they've got a great defensive line, so it'd be hard to run the ball on them. They're going to be an interesting team.
All right, let's jump over to the ACC. I know Connor is chomping at the bit to talk about his Florida State team. Listen, ACC showed well this weekend. I think you had Miami that did well.
Miami had a good win.
Clemson's going to look good tonight. You had Florida State step it up and beat an SEC team. NC State kind of let people down, but they did get the win.
You call that a win?
I know. Hey, listen, you could be sitting there and be Virginia Tech right now. Not only do you lose half of your stuff in the locker room.
Yeah,
so,
right.
I mean, talk about, a double whammy going to ODU, having people rip you off in the locker room.
Right.
As we mentioned on Friday, Connor, listen, you better start realizing that Florida State might be the second best team in the ACC right now. I know that you don't like some of what Norvell did, but what did I tell you? A couple of things that he would do. He will call trick plays that will end up winning games. He will win some games on trick plays.
You did
that reverse pass was ridiculous. The reverse pass.
Triple reverse flea flicker.
Yeah, that's what he's known for. He did it all the time at ASU. A lot of swing passes to the running backs, a lot of stuff outside. He's looking like the same guy at ASU, and now he can control the defense. He couldn't do that at ASU. I really like where Novell's going. I think, listen, it was a boneheaded coach's move to pitch the ball on the 1 yard line. I agree. But overall, you got to like the way they're going. I mean, they just
we're looking on the up and up.
Yeah.
Willie Taggart had us on the down and down.
Yeah. Hey, Rickshaw, well, you are down there. You're not too far from Miami. What did you watch the Miami game?
I did not.
Was that too late for you?
Yeah, was it a late game? Maybe that was. I was watching that damn Utah game. I think that was. And after the Utah game, I probably could have watched 5 more games because I couldn't sleep after that one. But yeah. So in terms of the ACC, the question is there going to be an ACC in a couple of years? With conference expansion going on, there's been a lot of talk that Florida State, for example, might end up in the Big Ten. And I know they're talking to Virginia, and there's a couple of other ACC schools, Georgia Tech, that are getting Big Ten attention. I mean, what do you guys think about that?
Well, I'm here. So Georgia Tech's right down the street, right? And I'll be honest with you, their fans aren't too enthusiastic about too much. Their fans don't think that too much is going to happen. Their fans aren't too enthusiastic about tonight. And it doesn't seem like they're enthusiastic about the near future. You don't hear them saying, well, we're moving in the right direction, or we feel like we'll be better this year. That's not the sentiment. The sentiment is, we should be 3 touchdown underdogs. We're probably going to lose by a lot. I try to bring up, I asked a couple of the guys, I said, listen, what you're not running the Paul Johnson offense anymore. I used to think you guys were a tough out when you ran that Paul Johnson triple option all the time. And, they agree that they're going to, I guess this quarterback struggles throwing the ball, but he's trying to become a pocket passer.
Yeah.
So I don't expect Georgia Tech. Listen, the key to Georgia Tech is basketball. That's one of the schools. That's like Duke. When you're down here and you're in North Carolina, Georgia Tech, or Duke, you're down here for college hoops. You're not here for college football. I mean, there's schools that are college football and there's schools that are college basketball. Georgia Tech still happens to me as a college basketball school. It's not a college football school. But it is right in the middle of. I didn't realize Atlanta had all these universities in a tiny area.
Yeah, right.
And you got Georgia State, Georgia Southern. You got all these things right here. I mean, Georgia Tech. They're all right here.
Right.
So no, I don't see Georgia Tech being the big play. I didn't hear about FSU moving to the Big Ten. You'd know more about that than I would. But you said it last year, Randy. You said this is going to be. We're heading towards 3 conferences, right?
Right.
That's where we're headed. You are right on that. We're headed towards 3 conferences.
Yeah.
And that the reason they're expanding the playoffs is because of that. So take the good with the bad in a lot of ways. The ways that we remember. I mean, look at the transformation just in the last 30 years. Us guys before Connor's years, grew up loving college bowls games where there were 6 bowl games on New Year's Day. None of them were a championship game. And you had the AP and the USA Today national champion, and then you had an argument for the next 6 months on who really won the championship.
Right.
So, right, you had a true, the Rose Bowl was the Big Ten versus the Pac-10. Then it became the Big 12, and you got the Big 12 now with 5 teams, and the Big 10 with 20 teams, whatever we got. So everything continues to change. But what you said last year is now, to me, 100% certainty that there will only be 3 power conferences, and that all the 12 teams in those playoffs will come from those 3 conferences. There will be a separate playoff for the non-power 3, I think.
Well, there'll be the bowl games again, like they've always been, right?
Consolation games.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I look at it, and talking about Georgia Tech, and kind of get back to Georgia Tech. Coach Collins is on the hot seat. There's no question about it. He's been there 4 years now. His best season, he won 3 games, and maybe he's done that a couple times. And then they lose they finally get a running back that's worth a darn in Jahmyr Gibbs. And what does he do? He transfers to Alabama, right? I mean, it's tough to be the coach at Georgia Tech. And they don't have a draw. I mean, so maybe a move to the Big Ten would be a good thing for them in terms of, types of players that they can get, maybe the type of coach they can get. Maybe that's a winning formula for Georgia Tech. That's yet to be determined. But tonight, well, plus 24 and over 51. What do you guys got?
I'm on Georgia Tech.
I like over 51.
You got to realize Ugalele hasn't lived up to the hype, right? He came in. It was impossible hype to live up to. First of all, you're comparing him to maybe the greatest college football player ever in Trevor Lawrence. As a freshman, he's coming in. What Clemson fans are telling me, and here is a big thing. Number one, he is on the hot seat, and it could happen in the first quarter, could happen by halftime. He could get yanked because here's what I didn't realize. They have the number 1 quarterback recruit in the country coming out of Texas. Now, if you go back and you say, well, he won't get yanked. Well, if you go back 4 years, Sweeney yanked Kelly Bryant, who was coming off winning a national championship, and put in Trevor Lawrence. So it is a very big possibility that they will yank him, and he's on a very short leash. That is new information, and I've been talking to a lot of these guys. Now, the thing I don't agree with them is they think that their defensive line is the best defensive line in the country. Georgia. If that's the case, if they're better than Alabama and Georgia's defensive line, this could be a 50-0 game. Because what I saw out of Georgia's defensive line and what Alabama's defensive line is, if you're telling me that Clemson's got the number 1 defensive line in football, then they are back at the top.
Yeah, wasn't this game last year in Death Valley, and wasn't the score something like 7-3 late in the fourth quarter?
10-3. They played Georgia. Remember, they played Georgia kicking off.
Yeah,
and it was 1 touchdown, and the touchdown was a pick 6.
Pick 6, yep.
Touchdown was a pick 6.
No offensive touchdowns. I remember that.
Right, yep. And so why I'm trying to figure out why everybody thinks this is going to be a high-scoring game. The only thing that I can see on it is that Clemson, they lost their defensive coordinator, they lost their offensive coordinator, they lost their defensive line coach, and the defensive line is the trademark of their team. Yeah. I'm thinking to myself, you don't replace coordinators like that. That is, I know they've been promoted from within, and I know they feel like they've got some continuity, but I don't like that. I think I'm with you, Tom. I think it's a low scoring game.
I think you're right on. The problem that I have is my play of the day was going to be the under, until I talked to them out there, and they're like, well, they got the #1 quarterback recruit in the country.
Cade Kubiak is his name. Klubnik, sorry. Cade Klubnik.
Man, if he goes in the game and he airs it out, he could put up a quick 42, and 42-10 could be a realistic number. 42-10 to me. That's 1 point over the number. And that bothers me. That scares me because Clemson always has receivers that are 6'4", 6'5", and I can't imagine Georgia Tech's going to be able to hold them down to a true passing quarterback. Now, can they hold him down to this ukulele? Yeah, because to me, he's not accurate. He's not really a pocket passer. Yeah. But I'm worried about them going to that backup quarterback. Sweeney's got that history of doing it.
Here's a couple options for you guys, right? If you're really, that's what you're really worried about. You can take the under Georgia Tech 13.5. That's one option, right?
Yeah.
Or you can take Clemson over the I think it was 33. So, I mean, if you really feel like you could throw up a quick 42, then take the over 33 with Clemson. There you go. That solves all your problems. I've gotten to the point where I don't like to have both teams do what they're supposed to do. I only want to have one team do what they're supposed to do.
Oh, you're going props. You're going sides.
That's why I'm only going with the individual team totals, right?
So when Sport Hitters, the over-under for Clemson is 35.5. What are your thoughts on that?
35.5. I like the under. I like the under.
Clemson to score less than 35. Gotcha.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Real quick, we're gonna talk a little more about the Sport Hitters numbers, but as far as the rest of the league, listen, the SEC, we could sit here and talk about Alabama, and we could talk about Georgia. We all saw it. We know what we got. It's 1A and 1B, and then there's the rest of everybody else as far as the Power 5 go. But
throw Texas A&M in there, and that you got those three, and then there's everybody else. Yeah.
I don't put Texas A&M anywhere close to that level. I think there's a big drop off. Listen, what those two teams did this weekend, let us know. Kirby Smart has turned Georgia into Alabama. He is able to retool. He is able to go 4 deep, 5 deep every year. He's got NFL guys. He just lost 8 guys in the NFL, 5 in the first round, and he might have the #1 defense in college football again.
Yeah.
And that to me,
I'm right there with you on Georgia. I'm not there with you on Alabama, but
their D-line is really scary. Georgia's D-line is
agreed.
Anybody else? Well, listen. Let's give a little props to my guy out there at ASU. I mean, it was NAU, but hey, they got to win. We're above 500 for the first time in a very long time. All right, so I'm going to enjoy it for this week. I don't know how long it's going to last, but I was actually scared of that game. I'll be 100% honest. I was scared of that game. We got the kid from Florida coming out there. We got a good little running back. And between the two of them, they were able to run around guys that are half their size. So when they play up against guys that are their size, I think it's going to go really bad for them. But
I got 2 words for you, Tom. 2 words. Blair O'Neal. Blair O'Neal.
Who is that?
Oh, come on. You don't know who Blair O'Neal is? She's that hot
you bring her up again.
I know, right? She's that hot Arizona State golfer. The greatest thing that ever came out of ASU. Are you kidding me?
Blair O'Neal. I don't know her.
Yeah.
I think you said that a little too loud.
Yeah, my wife just paid me a visit. Yeah, right. Yeah. Hi, honey. Yeah. Right.
So anyway, listen, outside of that, the rest, the Pac-12, everybody's saying they took a big beating. I still think that USC is going to run the table, and I think that they will be in the playoff. I think they will get in the playoff. I don't think the Pac-12 lost a playoff spot. I think the Pac-12 will have, if USC goes undefeated, which I think they will get in the playoffs this year. I don't expect 2 Big Ten teams because I think OSU might have a couple losses. I don't know Minnesota's schedule. I don't know OSU's schedule. I don't know what Michigan's schedule is. I don't know if they play each other so that one team. I don't know if they all play each other. That's what
Michigan doesn't play Minnesota. I think though that Ohio State might. And go ahead.
I'm going to be honest, man. I think people better pay attention to that Ibrahim guy, the Minnesota running back. Pay attention to him. He is going to me. I think he's going to end up being the Big Ten Player of the Year. I think Minnesota always has a good offensive line. That's one thing that you always have for 2 years. 2 years ago, they had the biggest offensive line in college football back-to-back years. But I expect them to be pretty good. So I don't think that the Big Ten is going to get 2. And that could open up a spot, I think, for USC. Clemson, I don't know. I've got to see what happens tonight. Like you said, they lost all their coaches, and you had a quarterback that wasn't developing.
You got a quarterback controversy. Yeah. You have a fall off in talent from years past, right? I mean, let's be honest. Trevor Lawrence was a stud for 3 years. He carried them. They carried them on offense. They have always had a good defense. Now the question is, do they also have a good defense? We'll find that out, I guess. We'll find out something about that tonight. I'm not sure how good a offensive team Georgia Tech is, but yeah, I'm with you there. I think only one team comes out of the Big Ten. I think it'll be Michigan or Ohio State. I think Clemson's in the picture just because they're playing in a pretty weak league, right? And they'll get Florida State might give them some a tussle, but there's really nobody 14th. Else, right? What's that?
Sport Hitters is going to be hosting tailgate party October 14th. FSU is hosting Clemson.
Okay.
By then, I think the whole town will be sick of hearing Tom Mitchell say, Mike Norvell is going to carry him. Go get him, Devils. He didn't get his props when he was with ASU.
Yeah.
But I have been saying, listen, he is underrated, I think, and I think he's going to do a great job there. And now I think their schedule plays to their advantage. That was a very big win for them. I could see them escaping now at 10-2 this year. I could see them going 10-2 with what they have. I think that kid Jordan Travis is going to be good. I think they got a really good running back, and I think that defensive lineman they got to transfer from Albany.
Jordan Travis is really comfortable.
What do you have? 3 sacks?
He did. He had 2.
I mean, he was all over the place making plays. So I think they're going to be a little better than people think. They're not. Don't get me wrong. They're not. Again, I don't have them anywhere close to Alabama, Georgia, or anything like that. But I think playing Clemson at home could be a much closer game than people think. And I think that could be a lot of fun game. Outside of the rest, it is what it is. A couple of the games I thought were incredible. That North Carolina App State game, to me, was just – I kept wondering if I was watching the right highlights because I saw the final score before I saw the highlights. And I saw a highlight that they scored with 39 seconds to go, and it made it like 46-45. I'm like, how in the world did they score 2 more touchdowns after? How does 2 more touchdowns happen? Sure enough, onside kick returned, and then a guy goes 2 plays for a touchdown. I'm like, this is epic. You can't write this movie. You can't make a movie out of this. So, right. And then we get into that LSU. So overall, the whole weekend, I was, just really happy with the overall weekend. Great way to come back to football and just get into it. Real quick, let's take another quick commercial. When we come back, let's talk brackets and talk some of this stuff that we think is going to happen. We got a few minutes left. So listen, Sport Hitters is kind of cool, and what's going on right now is we got college football, we got NFL Week 1 coming, and now we got MLB coming down to the playoffs, and that always is a lot of fun. And we're releasing a bunch of other stuff, but right now we're in Week 1. As of tomorrow, you wake up, it's basically we're getting ready for Week 1 in the NFL. Mr. Detroit Lions out there.
Oh boy, don't ask me about the Lions. It's so depressing. Yeah. Yeah, I was on another podcast the other day, and they were asking me, how the Lions going to do, and I said, look, I'm going to be optimistic here and say 6-11. I mean, that's where I have them, 6-11, and I could see them losing more than 11 games. I don't have any confidence in Jared Goff whatsoever. They did pick up that Jameson Williams kid from Alabama in the draft, but he's starting the year on the physically unable to perform list. And then, Amon St. Ron is a pretty good running back or a pretty good wide receiver. They got a couple good running backs, and that they have they're supposed to have the 4th or 5th best offensive line in the NFL this year with all the free agents they brought in. But they still have a terrible defense, absolutely terrible defense.
Didn't they draft Okudah and then somebody else in back-to-back drafts? Didn't they start on defense and then back-to-back drafts?
Yeah, they did. And Okudah was kind of a bust. He got hurt last year. Now he's back, and actually he's starting to play better. So maybe he just needed a year to adjust to the NFL. But he's not their biggest problem. They don't have any linebackers. They don't have any pass rush. Although they did draft Aiden Hutchinson, so we'll see how he does. But I say 6-11 for the Lions in a terrible black and blue division.
Yeah, listen, Joe's a Vikings guy, and the Vikings by default should win that division because I think Aaron Rodgers to me is on a different planet right now mentally. I don't even know what he's doing. He's on his shroom.
I'm telling you what,
he's out there.
Aaron Rodgers on shrooms is still 10 times better than Kirk Cousins. Let me tell you.
You're absolutely right. But Aaron Rodgers doesn't know who he's throwing to.
You see, he's playing on Percocet too.
What's that?
He's playing on Percocet too. He just admitted that the other day.
Well, you know what? Percocet is underrated.
You're running out there on the field, you can't feel your legs.
Who's your team, Connor? Who are you rooting on?
Falcons.
Oh, you're Falcons.
Yeah, we just got rid of Matt Ryan, brought in Mariota. I think we should be pretty good.
So it's gonna be a short season for you.
We don't have Calvin Ridley. I don't think we have Calvin Ridley for like
a year.
11 games.
Yeah, for betting, right? Wasn't it betting?
Yeah, on his own team when he was.
Yeah, he was betting. So, listen, that division is going to be one. I mean, that's Tampa Bay, New Orleans all day. Outside of that,
I want Jameis to do good. I wouldn't mind if New Orleans was good this year. Jameis deserves one.
Well, the happiest people to play the Saints are the other team's D-backs. I mean, he throws the perfect pass to him half the time. I mean, he throws the ball more to the other team than he does to his own team.
Yeah,
he got his eyes fixed. He got his little surgery. He's coming.
Buffalo Bills. I'm saying
he doesn't realize that a pick six doesn't count for you. He loves to throw those pick sixes because he thinks they're just touchdown passes. So, Atlanta's going to be an interesting.
We're rebuilding for sure.
Yeah.
So, Rick, are you hosting are you going to host a Detroit Lions challenge this year in Sport Hitters?
Probably at some point. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're gonna take the Lions?
No.
Take the Lions.
Well, you know what? I mean, they're always worth a lot of points, and Sport Hitters is an underdog. The underdog is the king in Sport Hitters. So I like underdogs. I'm an underdog better, and so the answer to your question is probably yes.
Connor knows underdogs well. He actually won because of Florida State won them. Last week when I won, it was because of my 2 underdog picks came in. And then this week, what did I do? I went right back to the favorites and I got smoked. So 100% dogs are definitely in play right now. I'm actually hopping on a plane. I'll be going out to Sport Hitters is going to have some brand ambassadors at one of the pool parties out in Vegas. So we're going out to Vegas for week 1. We'll be doing a lot from Tallahassee moving forward. And Mr. Gainesville, or Tallahassee, Gainesville, I'm not sure which one I should call him, but he's a transplant. He's up in Tallahassee. He's going to be hosting some Knowles challenges. Won't be this week, though, because they're off.
Yep, we're off.
But we're gearing up.
Back to Gainesville.
We're gearing up for a Louisville Thursday night special. Is it Thursday night?
I think it is a Thursday night. We have a Thursday night game, a Friday night game, and a Sunday night game this year. They got us playing every day of the week.
Well, if you're flying out to Vegas, Tom, you ought to go over and see my boy Jay Schrader, who is doing some promo work for the Raiders out the Westgate. So
absolutely, he also represents a lot of good charities. So we've had him on a couple times, and always, he's actually a funny guy. He definitely likes talking some golf stories. Which Randy doesn't like talking those golf stories, but
he always says he beats me, but he never does. Right? Yeah, it never does.
How is your golf game, Rickshaw?
That's in the golf game. It's in the tank. Yeah.
Oh.
So you get out of your home. Why is it? You just haven't been playing?
Well, I was in Michigan for a week, and I had gone over and I had played a couple times before I went to Michigan. So after playing for like 8 or 9 days in a row, I was pretty much ready for the wheelchair on the ride home. It was bad. So bad.
So did you go do your tour again? Did you go do a tour of Michigan?
I did.
Play for the week? Yeah,
I did. Yeah.
Did you go play? Do you play the same courses every year, or do you play different ones?
No, we played different ones. This year we were up in northern Michigan, and we played a bunch of a couple of the Boeing courses, a couple of treetop courses, and they're all all the name architects, and they're cut out of the wilderness. They're beautiful, and they're long, and they're hard, and yeah.
So let me ask. I don't know if you're aware of this, but since you brought up Jay Schrader, I think he runs a show over at the Superbook. Does he still do that? Does he still?
He does. He sure does.
Sometime last year, I was in there watching. Arizona State was on a Thursday night football game. Can't make this stuff up. I'm sitting there watching the game. At about 9:30, TVs go off, and they put karaoke on. Some guys up on a stage in the front of us in the sports book singing karaoke.
Was he any good?
Listen, you couldn't hear him over me screaming at the top of my lungs to put the TV back on the ASU game. Are you crazy?
Yeah.
And not only that, I was looking around. People were saying, "Yeah, what is this?" We're in the Superbook, the Westgate Superbook. In the middle of sports, they turn them off to put on karaoke. Ridiculous. I got to be honest.
Vegas is changing, brother. It's changing.
Not a good look. Not a good look. You know. So when I go there this time, I hope I haven't been back in almost a year after leaving there, but I am looking forward to getting out there and seeing any changes for the good, for the worse, whatever's going on, and enjoying opening weekend of the NFL. What are you doing? You got any big plans for opening weekend, Randy?
A couple things. I'm going to be in Vegas a week after next, going in for a roulette tournament there at the Flamingo. And I am trying to promo my new book, Tom. Let me tell you about my new book. Just in July, I published Casino Gambling for Winners. It's kind of an instructional manual for people who want to win, have the
discipline.
Have the financial means, and also have kind of the intellect to do it, but just for some reason or another, when they get in the casino, things don't go their way. So the book kind of addresses that. And
where can they get it? Where can everybody get it?
That's available on Amazon now. You can go to Amazon.com and buy it. Again, it's Casino Gambling for Winners. And then we are here out in Cape Coral. We have the Cape Coral Wolverines, and we're meeting it's a fan club for the Michigan Wolverines, and we meet every Saturday for football season. So it's a ball.
Where do they meet? At a bar at your place?
At Duffy's here in Cape Coral. Yeah, Duffy's Tavern.
Okay. So first of all, we did our NFL podcast draft from Duffy's up in Tampa.
Okay.
And it is the same GM.
We
are scheduled probably to be back at Duffy's all through Southern Florida, starting in probably November.
Okay.
As we get into the NFL season. First of all, let's get back to your gambling. I know you were working on that for a time. Is it your system that you used to do over there at where I met you at the casino there?
Yeah, I talk about what I do in the book, and I talk about how to win, and I do give a simple gambling system for folks to follow, but it really just more addresses all the things that professional gamblers do to be successful in casinos, right? I mean, it's like the 15 commandments of gambling, and it talks about how they all work together. And so what you need to do to be successful. So, I would call it like the highly successful habits of professional gamblers would have been a better title. But
and they can get it on Amazon. Just go to Amazon.
Amazon.com, Casino Gambling for Winners. Casino
Gambling for Winners. Now, since Connor is still in college, I'm not going to sit here and advocate for everybody at FSU to go get the book. But if you are going to cross over the lines, and you're going to end up down in, we'll say LSU or a little further down there, and you end up at a casino, get it. I do know that he does pretty well when he's playing tables. So I do know that Randy does do well when he plays tables.
Better than sports betting for sure. Yeah, right.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, you do. But you have a lot of fun on Sport Hitters, and then you go and the money you lose on Sport Hitters, you go and you win it.
I win it back
5
in the
times
casino,
over
right?
in the casinos.
Right.
So, listen, go get the book. It's going to be I'm sure it's really good. So, hey, congratulations on that. I know you were working on that for a while. That's really cool. Very cool. Connor, any parting shots? Just get ready for what? What are we getting ready for? What's going on, Connor? You're getting
This
ready
weekend?
for school tomorrow? Yeah. What do you got going?
School tomorrow. It's a long week. Long weekend.
Are you going to make it to class and get back to the business class?
Yeah, we're back to business Tuesday morning.
Yeah. All right. Make sure you give a big shout out to Sport Hitters when you're in class. And,
of course.
We'll be back in Tallahassee, probably meeting over at Hobbit later this week. Talk a little Mike Norville, having a cheers beer. All right, so we'll be back later in the week. Keep an eye out for us on Facebook. Keep an eye out for us on TikTok, and get the app, play some brackets, and have some fun. Take care, guys. You guys have a good one.
All right, thanks, Mitch.